Could your July check arrive smaller even if you did nothing wrong? 3 quiet rule changes are moving through the system right now, and 1 missed letter could cost you food, cash, or peace of mind. Before we open the envelope, tap like so. YouTube puts this warning in front of another retiree. Subscribe if you want plain English updates without panic, and share this with one person who checks the mail alone. That simple click might save them from a very expensive surprise. Here's the part that bothers me most. These changes do not arrive like a thunderstorm, loud enough for everybody to run inside. They arrive like a slow leak under the sink. You may not notice the damage until the floor is already soft. A little less in your Social Security deposit. A food card that suddenly stops working. A government letter written in language no normal person would choose. And when you call for answers, you may get a recording, a wait time, or a sentence that sounds official but explains almost nothing. So today, I want to slow everything down. No shouting, no mystery. Just the 3 changes that can hit older Americans this July, why they matter, who is most at risk, and what you can do before money disappears. Some of this may affect you directly. Some may affect a spouse, a neighbor, a brother, a church friend, or an adult child who once asked you to sign a loan form. The danger is not only the rule. The danger is not knowing which rule has your name on it. Let me give you the big picture first. The first change deals with old federal student loan debt, including loans parents or grandparents took out to help family. The second deals with Social Security overpayments, where the agency says it paid too much and then takes money back from your check. The third deals with food assistance rules for older adults who are not yet 65. All 3 have something in common. They work best when people stay confused. Confusion is expensive. Clarity is protection. Now, before anyone worries, I'm not saying every senior will be hit. Many will not. But if you live on a fixed income, you already know that a small cut can feel huge when everything else keeps rising. Medicare premiums, rent, homeowner's insurance, prescriptions, gas, eggs, a repair bill you did not plan for. $100 is not a rounding error. Half a check is not a budget adjustment. Losing help with groceries is not just paperwork. It is dinner. So let us start with the first problem, because it is easy to dismiss until you realize how many older people have their signature on education debt. Federal student loan collections that were paused for years are no longer asleep. When a federal student loan is in default, the government can use the Treasury offset program to take part of certain federal payments. That can include Social Security, retirement, or disability benefits. It does not need to sue you in a local court first. The collection system can move through federal channels. The usual limit often discussed is up to 15% of the monthly benefit, with a protected floor that is supposed to leave at least $750. But please do not hear that and think, well, that is not so bad. If your benefit is $1,300, 15% is $195. That is a pharmacy refill. That is a utility bill. That is the difference between buying fresh food and buying whatever is cheapest. The math may look small on a government screen. In a kitchen, it feels enormous. And this is where the story becomes painful. Many retirees did not borrow for a degree they used. They borrowed because someone they loved needed help. A daughter wanted nursing school. A grandson wanted a first chance. A parent signed a Parent Plus loan because that is what good parents do when they can. Years pass. The student struggles. Maybe the family stops talking about it because everybody feels embarrassed. Then the older signer opens a bank app one morning and sees a Social Security deposit that is smaller than yesterday's budget allowed. That is not a personal failure. It is a paperwork trap. The loan has a name attached to it, and if that name is yours, the government sees a source of repayment. It may not care that you are retired. It may not care that you are trying to help. It may not care that you have been paying rent from the same monthly check for years. The system sees an old default and a federal benefit, and then it starts matching files. Here is the action step. If you ever borrowed federal student money, co-signed a federal education loan, or took out a loan for a child, do not guess. Go to the Federal Student Aid website or call the loan servicer if you know who it is and ask one clear question. Is any federal student loan in my name currently in default or headed toward collection? You want the answer before Treasury wants your check. If you receive a notice, read every date on it. Dates are not decoration. They are doors. There are ways to fight or slow the offset, and this is the part many people never hear. If the loss would make it impossible to pay basic living costs, you can ask for hardship relief. You may need proof of income, rent, utilities, medical costs, and other bills. That paperwork is annoying, but it can protect the money you need to live. Some borrowers can also get out of default through rehabilitation or consolidation. Once the loan is no longer in default, the threat to the Social Security check can change. Do not wait until the smaller deposit lands. Waiting turns a problem into a crisis. If you are helping a parent, sit with them and make the call together. If you are the parent, do not feel ashamed. Millions of decent people signed financial papers in good faith and later found the rules were colder than the family promises. The goal is not blame. The goal is to know what file exists, what status it has, and what request must be made before July damage becomes August damage. Now listen closely, because the second change may affect a wider group. It is about overpayments. An overpayment happens when Social Security says you received more than you were entitled to receive. Sometimes that can happen because a person kept working and income was reported late. Sometimes a marriage, divorce, death, disability status, or living arrangement changed. But sometimes the overpayment exists because the agency made its own mistake, processed information late, or used a number that never made sense to the person receiving the check. That distinction matters emotionally, but it does not always matter to the collection letter. The letter may simply say you owe a balance, and unless something changes, the agency will withhold part of your benefit. For a long time, many people dealt with 10% withholding. 10% hurts, but it usually leaves some room to breathe. The newer policy allows Social Security to withhold up to 50% of certain monthly benefits for overpayments. Half, not $5, not a small fee, half of the income many people built their whole month around. Imagine a widow who receives $1,400. She has rent, a Medicare plan, blood pressure medication, car insurance, and one small credit card she uses for emergencies. A letter says she was overpaid 2 years ago. She does not remember anything unusual. She did not hide money. She did not lie. But if half the check is held back, she's left trying to survive on $700. The question is no longer, how do I pay this bill? The question becomes, which bill do I not pay? This is why the envelope matters. If you get an overpayment notice, do not toss it into a drawer because it feels scary. Fear makes people freeze, and freezing is exactly what hurts them. Look for the amount they say you owe. Look for the date collection begins. Look for instructions about appeal, waiver, and lowering the withholding rate. If you do not understand it, take it to a Social Security office, a trusted advocate, a legal aid clinic, or a family member who can sit beside you. You usually have rights to challenge what the agency says. You may appeal if the amount is wrong. You may ask for a waiver if you believe the overpayment was not your fault, and paying it back would cause hardship. You may ask for a lower withholding rate if 50% would break your budget. These are not magic words, but they are real tools, and real tools only work when someone picks them up. If this is helping you breathe a little easier, hit the like button as a signal flare for other seniors, subscribe so the next rule change does not sneak past you, and share this video with the person in your family who keeps all the papers in a shoebox. They may need this before they know they need it. Now, let us talk about timing. Many people think a government notice is the final answer. It is not. It is often the opening move. There is usually a period before withholding begins. That period may be your best chance to file an appeal, request waiver review, or ask for a smaller recovery amount. If you wait until the money is already gone, you can still ask questions, but now you're asking from a weaker place with less cash in your account. Keep records like your money depends on them, because sometimes it does. Save copies of pay stubs if you work. Save letters you send. Write down the date, time, and name of every person you speak with. If you report a change, keep proof that you reported it. If you mail something, consider certified mail or upload confirmation when available. That may sound like overkill, but a thin folder of proof can be the difference between you owe this and we need to review this again. Also, do not assume the agency is always right. Social Security handles enormous amounts of data. People retire, return to work, stop work, change addresses, lose spouses, qualify for different benefits, and move between programs. Computers compare records. Workers process forms under pressure. Mistakes happen. The respectful thing is not to yell at the person on the phone. The respectful thing is to insist on a clear explanation in writing and to use the appeal rights the law gives you. This is where families can make a huge difference. A son, daughter, niece, or neighbor may look at a letter and see the deadline that the older person missed because the language was confusing. They may help fill out a waiver request. They may help gather bank statements and medical bills. If you are younger and watching this for a parent, do not wait for them to ask. Pride keeps many seniors quiet. They may be terrified and still say, "I'm fine." Now let us move to the third change, because this one is not about a check being reduced. It is about food. For many older Americans, SNAP benefits, often still called food stamps, are the quiet bridge between Social Security and the grocery store. It may not be a large amount, but it stretches beans, bread, milk, fruit, eggs, and meat when meat is possible. It lets someone buy soup without skipping medicine. It lets a grandmother feed herself and still keep snacks for the grandkids. The rule at the center of this is the work requirement for able-bodied adults without certain exemptions. That phrase sounds simple, but real life is not simple. Some people in their late 50s and early 60s are healthy enough to work. Others are worn down by decades of labor, bad backs, heart problems, breathing trouble, arthritis, diabetes, or caregiving. They may not have a disability approval yet. They may not look sick to a stranger, but 20 hours a week can still be impossible. Changes in these rules can pull more people into the reporting net. Depending on age, state rules and exemptions, older adults who believed they were safely past work requirements may be asked to prove work, approve training, volunteering, or a valid exemption. The number often discussed is 80 hours a month. That is not a casual errand. That is a part-time job on paper, and for someone caring for a spouse with dementia, it may feel like being told to work 2 jobs, one paid and one invisible. Picture a 63-year-old man who used to unload trucks. His knees are shot. His doctor tells him not to stand for long periods, but he has not been approved for disability. He gets a small amount of SNAP. Not enough to live on, but enough to keep food in the cabinet at the end of the month. If a letter arrives asking for proof of work and he ignores it because he thinks his age protects him, the benefit may stop before he understands why. Or picture a 61-year-old woman raising 2 grandchildren because her daughter is gone. She is exhausted. She is doing school pickups, meals, baths, homework, and doctor's appointments. She may qualify for an exemption because she is caring for dependents, but the state office may not know that unless she reports it and proves it. In a benefits office, what is not documented can look like it does not exist. That is harsh, but it is often how the system works. The most important word here is exemption. Work rules are not supposed to punish people who truly cannot work or who fit protected categories. A medical condition may qualify. Receiving SSI or Social Security disability may qualify. Caring for an incapacitated person may qualify. Caring for a child in the household may qualify. Pregnancy, participation in certain treatment programs, or already meeting work rules through another program may matter. Rules can vary by state, and that is why you must ask your own SNAP office directly. Do not ask in a vague way. Do not say, "Am I okay?" Ask, "Do I have an able-bodied adult work requirement on my case?" Ask, "What exemption can apply to me?" Ask, "What proof do you need? And when is it due?" If you have a doctor, ask whether they can write a simple note explaining your work limits. If you care for someone, gather proof. If you get disability benefits, keep award letters or benefit statements. The goal is to make your case easy to approve. This is not about gaming the system. It is about telling the truth in the language the system recognizes. You may be doing more real work than anyone around you. You may be caring for a sick husband all night, driving to appointments all day, and still finding time to wash clothes and cook. But if the form asks for an exemption and you leave it blank, the computer does not see love. It sees a missing answer. Missing answers can shut off food. There is another tension here that nobody likes to say out loud. Many seniors are proud. They worked for 40 years. They paid taxes. They raised children. They helped neighbors. Asking for food help already feels uncomfortable even when they qualify. Then a new work rule arrives and makes them feel judged again, as if needing help means they did something wrong. Let me be clear. Using a benefit you qualify for is not a moral failure. Going hungry because paperwork shamed you is the tragedy. The 3 changes may look separate, but together they reveal the same pattern. Money that older Americans count on can be reduced by systems that move faster than people can understand. Student loan offsets move through Treasury. Overpayment collections move through Social Security. SNAP work rules move through state agencies. Different offices, different forms, different phone numbers. Same result if you miss the warning. Less money, less food, more fear. That is why awareness is not optional. It is a survival skill. So what should you do this week, not someday? First, check whether any education loan in your name is federal, delinquent, or in default. If the answer is yes, ask about hardship options and default resolution before an offset begins. Second, if you receive any Social Security letter about overpayment, respond quickly, ask for the records behind the decision. File an appeal or waiver if appropriate. Ask for lower withholding if the proposed amount would wreck your budget. Third, if you use SNAP and are under 65, confirm your work status or exemption now. Make a folder. I mean a real folder or a digital one, whatever you will actually use. Put in Social Security letters, student loan notices, SNAP notices, proof of rent, utility bills, medical bills, doctor notes, disability award letters, caregiving proof, and a written list of phone calls. If someone helps you, give them permission to help in the way each agency requires. A trusted helper cannot do much if the agency refuses to speak with them. Planning ahead saves hours of frustration, and please do not rely only on memory. Memory gets tired under stress. A person can hear a phone representative say one thing and later doubt themselves. Write it down while the call is happening. Ask for a reference number. Ask for the form name. Ask where to send it. Ask when to follow up. Those small questions can keep a small problem from becoming a disaster. A notebook can become your shield when the system forgets what it promised later. Quick favor. Before we go deeper, if you know a senior who says, "I do not use the internet for money stuff," share this video with them anyway. Subscribe for them if you are the helper in the family, and tap like so this warning reaches people before the letters do. The algorithm is not warm-hearted, but we can use it for something good. Now, I want to talk about the emotional side. because financial videos often skip it. When a benefit gets cut, people do not just lose dollars. They lose the sense that the ground is steady. They start checking the bank account over and over. They stop answering unknown numbers. They hide letters because the letters feel like threats. They cancel small joys first: a lunch with friends, a birthday gift, the better coffee, the trip to see family. A rule change becomes a smaller life. That is why the answer is not only forms, the answer is also community. If you're able, check on the older people around you in July. Ask a simple question: did any check, card, or benefit change this month? Do not ask in a way that embarrasses them. Ask like you would ask whether the power went out. Calm, practical, normal. Sometimes the biggest help is giving someone permission to say, actually, yes, something looks wrong. If something does look wrong, move fast, but do not panic. Panic wastes energy. Start with identification. Which agency is involved? Treasury and student aid for a loan offset, Social Security for an overpayment, the state SNAP office for food benefits. Then ask for the reason in writing. Ask what deadline applies. Ask what form changes the outcome. Ask whether benefits can continue while the issue is reviewed. If the first person cannot explain it, politely ask for a supervisor or another route. One thing I would not do is pay a stranger who promises a secret fix. Hardship relief, appeals, waivers, lower withholding requests, and SNAP exemptions are normal processes. Some people may need legal help, and nonprofit legal aid can be valuable. But be careful with anyone who calls you first, asks for gift cards, demands bank passwords, or says they can make a government debt vanish overnight. A scary rule change creates a perfect hunting ground for scammers. Do not let fear make you open the door. Use official contact information. Go to the official agency website yourself, or use phone numbers printed on known legitimate letters, benefit cards, or prior statements. If you are unsure whether a letter is real, bring it to the agency office or call a verified number. Never trust a number just because it appears in a text message. Seniors are being targeted every day, and a fake helper can do more damage than the original problem. Let us bring the three changes back into one clear picture. With student loans, the danger is an old debt waking up and reaching a Social Security payment before the retiree understands what happened. The defense is to check your loan status, ask about hardship, and explore ways out of default. With overpayments, the danger is a letter that turns into a 50% withholding. The defense is to read the notice, meet the deadline, request a lower rate, appeal when the amount is wrong, and seek a waiver when repayment would be unfair or impossible. With SNAP, the danger is assuming age alone protects you when the office wants proof of work or proof of exemption. The defense is to call the state office, ask direct questions, and file medical, caregiving, disability, or household proof before the cutoff. None of these defenses require you to be rich. None require you to understand every page of federal law. They require attention, documentation, and the courage to ask for the right form instead of accepting silence. And yes, I know that sounds tiring. It is tiring. It should not take this much effort to protect basic income and food. Older Americans should not need to become investigators just to keep benefits they qualify for. But until the system becomes simpler, we have to become harder to push around. Not angry in a reckless way, not rude, just prepared. The most powerful sentence you can say is, please show me the rule, the deadline, and the appeal process in writing. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The first notice is not always the final word. A smaller deposit is not always permanent. A food benefit ending is not always the end of the story. Systems make decisions, but people can challenge decisions. People can provide proof. People can request mercy when a mistake was not theirs and repayment would cause hardship. People can ask a doctor for a note. People can call again. People can bring someone with them. That last part matters. Do not face this alone if you do not have to. If you are the senior, choose one trusted person and say, I need help reading these papers. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. If you are the trusted person, be patient. Do not grab the papers and take over like the older person is a child. Sit beside them. Read slowly. Let them stay in control. Your job is not to replace their voice. Your job is to make sure the system hears it. I also want to be fair. Rules can change. Agencies can update guidance. Courts, Congress, and state offices can adjust details. That is why you should confirm your own situation before making a decision. This video is education, not personal legal, tax, or financial advice. But education matters because it tells you where to look. It gives you the question to ask. And sometimes the right question, asked early, is worth more than a stack of advice that arrives too late. So tonight, do 3 simple things. Check your bank deposit against last month. Open every official envelope, even the ones that make your stomach tighten. And if you receive SNAP, Social Security, or have any old federal education loan, write down 1 phone call you will make tomorrow, not 10 calls. 1. Momentum starts small. The goal is to move before the system moves for you. For years, Seniors have been told to be careful with their money, clip coupons, compare prices, turn off lights. But careful spending cannot protect you from a rule you never heard about. Only information can do that. And information becomes power only when it is shared. That is why this matters beyond your own wallet. Somewhere there's a retired teacher, a truck driver, a cashier, a veteran, a widow, a grandfather who signed a loan, or a caregiver who is one unopened letter away from losing money they cannot spare. If that person is you, take a breath. You are not foolish. You are not alone, and you are not powerless. If that person is someone you love, reach out before pride or confusion keeps them silent. July may bring ugly surprises, but surprise loses strength when people are warned. The check, the food card, and the letter are not just paperwork. They are someone's stability, someone's dignity, someone's dinner. Protect them early, protect them calmly, and protect them together.